Okay, so this video is about how to take apart and clean the two motors that control the forks for the drip system out and get them all nice and cleaned up and functional. You can see here there's what I'm calling this guy, right here. I'm just calling this, it's basically a drive gear, a fancy drive gear. It runs the arm that connects up to the drip system. I'm going to show you how to get the motor out, but you don't necessarily have to unless you really want to thoroughly clean it. Both motors work just fine after I took off the drive wheel, which basically just sits in a large electromagnet. That's what drives the gears inside this gearbox. The gears inside the gearbox seem to be fine. All I did is clean the drive wheel out, lubricate it, and we're good to go. So I'm going to set you down and show you that it's actually working. I'll run the motor on this side. You can see it's working just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to clean the drive wheel. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, this is the right motor, and I've already loosened these two screws. They came out pretty easily prior to cleaning, but don't hesitate to use some WD-40. I'm going to take these two screws out, and then this just disconnects from the back. You can see here there is a where's the rubber gasket? There it is. There is a rubber gasket that you're going to want to make sure you don't lose. And then the drive wheel just comes right off, or right out rather. Now, you can see this is actually, it may look dirty, but it's fairly clean. I used my Dremel and a very fine grit polishing head to polish it up and get any of that dried up grease and surface rust off. You can see it just connects right back in through here. There is a little washer. You're going to want to make sure that you put the spring, and there's two washers down there. I actually took those out and cleaned all the rust off of them. Got them all nice and shiny, so I'm going to go ahead and put the drive wheel back in. And I'm going to dry my hands here before there we go. I'm going to take that back out, make sure everything's good. Everything looks good. Okay. Put this back on. Again, don't forget the rubber gasket. And the screws. And that's all I had to do for both motors to get them spun up and working. Now I am going to take the entire motor mount, including the gearbox here, off. I'm not going to open up the gearbox because everything seems to be running pretty smoothly, but I am going to clean off, take the screws out and clean off all of the rust off of the nuts and bolts. Get it all nice and cleaned up so it'll last another 40 years. Okay, so this part, this is already, this drive gear is actually already off. I got it off last night, but I wanted to show you that it is actually, you can see here on this one, fairly rusted on. And it took about 2 or 3 days of re-soaking in WD-40 before I got this one off. So they just pull off. You're going to have to wiggle and work it, but they will come off, and that's the only way to get this motor out. See here, it's already clean. I'll clean it again just because I put it back on a rusty drive shaft. But once you get that off, it's as simple as removing these guys. They're pretty easy to remove. Again, don't hesitate to use a little WD-40. This one up here does have a washer, so you want to make sure you don't lose that. And CLR is your friend if you're trying to restore this machine. All of the mechanics, it's pretty amazing what they could do in the 70s, but all of the mechanics, everything works. All of the relays are fine, the wiring's good, but there is surface rust on the majority of the nuts and bolts. All right, so we've got those removed. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate very carefully, so you can see here. Move these out of the way. And we can just pull the entire unit out. Unless I'm missing a screw. It would appear I'm missing a screw. Okay, back to the drawing board. There's one more screw I need to remove. Okay, I'm going to try and zoom in. There was one extra screw that I didn't really see. But if you look back here, you see where this paper is? This corner here? There was actually this flathead screw. So 3 bolts and 1 flathead screw, and it was tucked away right back here. You can get to it without removing this little switch here though. So I've taken that out. I put this bolt back in just to support the motor, so I'll take that out. And then we will switch over here. Yep, let me zoom out. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, you can see. So now I'm going to pull the motor out, and there it is. Oh, that gearbox has some pretty rusted screws, but overall in really good shape. Let's see, whatever this gray stuff is, I'm thinking it's some kind of an epoxy coating, maybe to prevent the electromagnet from being interfered with. I'm not sure. So let me set this down and then show you guys how to disconnect the power. So I'm going to rotate the unit here. Okay. It's pretty straightforward. It's just a little wiring bridge, and this is what we're looking for here. So you just have to insert a very small flathead to release the tension on the wire. Let's see right here. Now remember, this is an AC motor, so as long as you put them back in the bridge properly, it doesn't really matter which wire goes into which slot. There we go. So got that one out, and oops, can't see back there. There we go. Sometimes it takes just a little bit of finagling. There we go.